Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Planes, Trains and Automobiles, directed by Hughes from 1987. So yes, we are back once again, ready to discuss another film on the channel. This time around, Planes, Trains and Automobiles. Of course, a classic comedy for me, and one that I cannot wait to discuss today. And there will be a spoiler warning first of all. If you haven't seen this film, I simply recommend seeing it first, and then come back to this discussion, and we can go from there. We can talk about this film in the comments, and all things John Candy, John Hughes, of course, and Steve Martin, and discuss various comedies on the channel. So yeah, what I said, let's discuss my thoughts on this film, and yeah, what a film it is. This one is a classic, and I watched this on the 28th of November, and yeah, I just had such a great time. Obviously, that was Thanksgiving, and yeah, watched this for the first time in 2020, and had been hearing about this, for many, many years, and I just never got around to it. And being a massive John Hughes fan, I love his films, what I've seen from him. I thought I'd finally see this film, and yeah, I saw it at the end of 2020. This is my third watch now, so second rewatch of the film, and it's one that instantly, really, when I first saw it, became one that I just loved, fell in love with, and I thought I'll be watching this as much as I can over the years, rewatching this, because it's a one that I truly got so much from. It uplifted me. It was a warm kind of magical road trip film, and kind of these two unlikely characters at first who are kind of bickering and they kind of get in each other's way, that form this really, really special friendship. And also, as we know in the end, we learn a lot about Del Griffith, played by John Candy, of course, and his backstory. And it's quite a tragic film at times for him. It's quite sad, but then does lead to that kind of reveal, to a hopeful ending, and the bond that they form over the course of the film. Steve Martin, John Candy playing these characters, it kind of leads to this unbelievable ending where we have the kind of freeze frame with John Candy, smiling, of course, and it's just so stunning. Just the emotions I felt from the ending, it just brought me to tears, and it's a one that because it has got tragic elements, but because it's such a hopeful ending, and the two of them kind of having Thanksgiving together, with, of course, Neil's family, Steve Martin's family, they played. Of course, just the fact that John Candy, kind of came with him to the house and met the family there, and it kind of just ends in that moment when they're about to kind of celebrate. I think it's just a perfect ending, and one of my favourite kind of freeze frames as well, in cinema. And yeah, starting off the film, obviously we have, kind of Steve Martin playing Neil Page, and we have John Candy playing Del Griffith, and these two characters who are kind of trying to get home, it seems like, for Thanksgiving. And obviously, particularly, we focus on first Steve Martin's character of Neil Page, and he's just trying to get home to Chicago to see his family, of course, in time for Thanksgiving. And just the first scenes, I love, the guy kind of looking at the design, and he's just kind of holding it up, and they're all just kind of waiting, and in the kind of boardroom there, and just seeing Steve Martin's reaction there, and just the watch as well, constantly looking at the watch, and yeah, just the tension there, it already starts it off, and just instant connection there I have with his character, the way he's introduced, he's just so kind of likeable, and he's kind of in a rush, of course. And finally, when Steve Martin's character of Neil kind of goes into the streets to find a taxi, of course, and to try and get home, it all kind of goes wrong from there. And we have Kevin Bacon as well, in that hilarious kind of cameo role, really. He's kind of racing John Candy, and he looks over, and I just love the way the film starts out like this. Just kind of wacky, zany, and so well put together. Just from the get-go, this is an event. The way it's kind of directed, edited, it's just, I feel every kind of shot here, and it's just so involving. It really is, and just the way it's put together. It's kind of the music in the film. That's one of the great things about this one. The use of music and the songs themselves, especially Red River Rock. The way that's used in the film, it's just kind of this whimsical, upbeat version of this famous kind of piece of music, and I love the way it kind of adds this funky kind of zany feel to the film, and also I love that song. So it's great to see this in the film, the way it's kind of used as a theme for the two of them, especially on the road. And it's just by the time John Candy kind of comes into it, it's all kind of going wrong for Steve Martin. And at first John Candy's character Del Griffith is just kind of this obstacle for kind of Neil Page, and getting in his way, and he's the one that kind of took his cab by accident. And already Steve Martin is so angry at this point, and tripping over the kind of the case there as well, John Candy's case. All of this is just so hilarious, and especially when we then get to the characters kind of interacting for the first time properly, talking, kind of waiting there. That is just when the film starts to really become so magical, because this kind of friendship forms, this bond, and everyone is very up and down throughout the film, very complex and layered, and but in the end it kind of comes comes together so well, so perfectly, and I think just the chemistry between John Candy and Steve Martin in this film, it's just unbelievable stuff, and I think the performances are, some of the best comedic performances that I've seen, and also we do have, as we know, dramatic moments in the film. Of course, John Candy plays his character so well. Del Griffith, is the one who, at first he seems to be, just kind of warm and loving, and it's just really outgoing and nice. But there is obviously a lot of tragedy underneath and stuff that he's hiding and not necessarily, revealing to obviously Neil. And despite that, he does mean well, and he's kind of just trying to help Neil throughout the film, and at times Neil can't really see that, even though it's all kind of going wrong for Neil, it seems, and he can't kind of catch a break. It is obviously John Candy's, kind of Del Griffith, who is helping him along the way and giving him loads of stuff that he can try and sort him out with. Obviously the hotel room, which is the first hotel room where they kind of share the bed. That is one of the funniest moments in the film, that whole kind of sequence there, and we do learn kind of a bit more about the characters there, and also it's kind of just left for us to wonder until really the final act, but that's when it all kind of starts to kick off. The kind of feuding really begins there. We have Steve Martin's character of Neil kind of really letting loose there, and he can't really take it, and Del Griffith is kind of clearing his throat and all this, and he's not letting him sleep, and it's just so funny. First time I saw this, I was just laughing so much, and I think it's just the fact that all of this is kind of going wrong for Steve Martin, and he just wants to get home to his family, of course, for Thanksgiving, and to Chicago, and it seems like everything that could go wrong is going wrong for them, and not just obviously Neil, but also Del, and it's just the way that they kind of constantly, there's parts where they think, or Steve Martin thinks, he's finally rid of, obviously, Del Griffith, John Candy, and then something happens again, with the flights, with the bus, of course, etc. And just then they're back, once again, kind of helping each other out, and he's kind of forced to once again tag along with John Candy, and I think that's one of the best aspects of that, of the film is the way that they're kind of forced together constantly, even though kind of Neil just wants to finally find some time to relax and to just kind of enjoy the ride, and just the train bit as well, with kind of really great scenery in this, by the way, as well. Lovely locations, and I love the way in which kind of the season is captured. Of course, and just the warmth from within, and even when they're out on the road, freezing. It is this warm feeling from the film, but just the locations, the scenery. I love in this film, and just the kind of globe-trotting effect it has. And but yeah, the train sequence. That's one of the kind of moments where, obviously, Steve Martin, is just his character. Obviously, Neil is kind of thinking he's finally through this, and then, of course, the train breaks down, and they have to get out. And, of course, he looks over and he sees John Candy struggling, and just kind of looks around and thinks there's no way out of this. He has to kind of, once again, join up with John Candy, and, they're kind of off once again. He helps him with the case, and, they're back together, and it's just one thing after another in this film. The way it's written by John Hughes, it's just really perfection, I feel, and the characters, in this are just so likeable, and there's so much to them. There's so much depth to the characters. It's unbelievable, and I think just the way in which it's a really complex relationship. It's parts of the film where I feel really bad because when they're kind of feuding, because they are deep down, characters who do kind of feel something for each other. They're trying to help each other. Steve Martin, for a lot of the film, does kind of figure out that John Candy is a nice guy, and he does mean well, but he just can't really hold in his emotions of his frustration, and he's constantly kind of tearing into him, and John Candy is kind of really taking this throughout a lot of the film, and there's parts where he does kind of bite back, and I think it's just up and down, back and forth, and I think the adventure feel of this film is just something else. It's this real just magical film, warm, charming, kind of jolly film at times. It's just kind of relaxing and easy to watch, and there is a lot going on with the characters as well, and just seeing the kind of cutaway humour as well at times. It's just so great. It's some of the best I've seen. The devil sequence with John Candy, that's just so bizarre, but it's just in the right moment where things are just going so wrong, and it's just so insane, and with the kind of car there, and on the road there, and just when John Candy kind of, you just look around and see John Candy in the devil costume there. It's just so funny, and also just one of the earlier parts where Steve Martin kind of recognises John Candy, and it kind of cuts back to another shot, of John Candy kind of reacting and looking at he realises that it's the character that kind of took his cab. Just cutaway humour like this is so great. And I think the funny scene is when Steve Martin, his character of Neil, has just gone down, he's fallen down, into the ice and snow, and he's gone across a runway, and he's just after the car, it was, the car, he couldn't rent it, and just the fact he goes to the car rental place, the woman's on the phone, and she's kind of laughing away, and she says gobble gobble, and she puts the phone down finally, and then she kind of looks in disgust at Steve Martin, and he is so angry at this point, and she says, "Can I help you?" And his response to this is one of the funniest kind of monologues moments in a film I've ever seen in my life. And the first time I saw this, I didn't expect it either, for him to swear so much. Every other word really is a swear word, at this woman here, and it's one of the funniest scenes I've ever witnessed. And the fact he says you can start by wiping that, so look off your face, and it's just the response, to this, it's just so funny, and then she bites back at the end as well. It's just one of the funniest moments, in a film I've ever seen, and the fact that just Steve Martin just really goes full on here, and the swearing, of course, again, didn't expect it to be like this the first time I saw it, and I was just really taken aback, and probably. I laughed in that sequence more than I've laughed in most films I've ever seen, and it's a real just kind of primal, release of laughter there, because it's just something that, as a character, Neil is releasing his anger that he's built up so much in the film. He has done before, he's released his anger, but this is the one where he really, kind of loses it, and it's directed at this woman because she's so smug in the response, to him, and the way she looks up and down him, and it's just so funny, and just the response back from this woman, it's just, wow, it's so funny, and it's just a moment in the midst of all this chaos. It's just this kind of standalone moment, really, but it's just perfect in the way, finally Steve Martin just kind of releases this anger, and he plays that so well. His performance there, it's one of the funniest scenes, as I say, and definitely throughout this film, it's just scene after scene, really, of hilarious comedy. The way it's written, the acting from both John Candy and Steve Martin is really perfection, and I think just the chemistry, the bond that we feel, it's just so warm and uplifting, and kind of inspiring, and in the end, the final act, which I love so much, and it's really quite full on as well with the physical comedy. I think the final act, when they finally go back to the house, and not just Neil, but also of course Del Griffith, they go back to his house, and they're about to, of course, share Thanksgiving together, and it's a really just uplifting moment, and it's a real, the way that this friendship is kind of explored in the film, and finally in the final act, they do kind of make it back together, and because Neil goes back, obviously, as we know, for Del Griffith, and sees him there, and that's when the full reveal of Del Griffith is given, and it's just so perfectly done. The fact that it's, just at the final moments, really, that we learn fully the backstory of Del Griffith, and John Candy's performance here is absolutely stunning, and I think just the kindness of Neil to kind of bring him back to the house, and they, as I say, they're going to share Thanksgiving together with all the family, and it's just so stunning and uplifting, and it brings me to tears every time. Just a lovely emotional way to end such a kind of upbeat and fun adventure film, and I think it has got drama throughout, and this is when it really all comes together, and kind of culminates in such an emotional way and meaningful way, and it's just some adventure, this one, and from start to finish, I love this film, and it's one of my favourite films. It's on my list, and definitely one of my favourite comedies of all time. So my rating for this film is a 99%. An absolute masterpiece for me. I love this film so much. As I say, it's one of my favourite comedies, and I just love really everything about this film, the way it's put together, the editing, the music that's used, and just the whole adventure feeling, the road trip, but really just kind of a cross-country, and then, kind of globe-trotting in effect, feel that it has, and of course, this very unlikely at first, because of the kind of feuding relationship bond these characters form, and in the end they are, great friends, and it's just one of those films that means so much to me, uplifts me so much, and just to see this unfold, it's just unbelievable, and the performances, as I say, are stunning, and just the direction to this, the writing is just so great, and I think one of the masterpieces from John Hughes, and he made a few, and it's certainly one of my favourite directors and writers in cinema, and this is yet another masterpiece from him, and I think it's just from start to finish, so enjoyable. It's a fun film, it's epic in places, and yeah, just truly inspiring and uplifting and magical of a film to experience. And so yeah, that's my thoughts on this film. What do you think? It'd be really cool to discuss in the comments and to share your experience with this film. And yeah, let's discuss this film in the comments and all things cinema. So yes, as always, take care and thanks for watching.